Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to this session, Instagram for Introverts. I'm so excited that APNA asked me to do this session again for our virtual conference because it's really honestly just my journey in this whole process. I'll tell you a little bit about my story before we begin. I'm Katie Provinziano. I own Westside Nannies based in Los Angeles. We specialize in permanent placements of nannies, private educators, and newborn care specialists. And I've been in this business since I was 20 years old. I'm now 39. Oh my gosh. So that's 19 years at this point. And I just love what I do. We have a wonderful team, and I'm just so excited to do what I do, have a job that I love, have a job that gives me so much freedom, and also get to talk to amazing agency owners like you about topics like Instagram for introverts. So why is it Instagram for introverts, you might ask? Well, I'm presenting this because I'm an introvert, and that may surprise some of you because I think you know me at conferences and I'm always talking to everyone. I'm probably talking to you. And if you ever see me at a conference, please come up and talk to me. But conference is a really, warm, easy place to be as an introvert because I know so many of you and it's such a warm audience. And it kind of, at this point, 19 years in, feels like summer camp where I just get to see my friends that I haven't seen in a while. But let me tell you, if I had to go to a conference where I don't know anyone, that would be incredibly hard for me. I'd be nervous. I would want my wing woman or wingman with me. That is not my comfort zone. Similarly, I really don't think there's any amount that you could pay me to go on a long car ride with someone I just met. I remember that being one of the questions on eHarmony back in the day when I was filling out my eHarmony profile. Met my husband there, by the way. And I think it said, like, what of these things would scare you most? And that was definitely the one I chose. Long car ride with someone I just met, like, serious no-go for me. And so how does that interplay with Instagram, you might be asking? Well, it really came down to video on Instagram because I don't like being on video. I love talking to you right now, again, warm audience, but being on video is not my favorite thing, especially when I'm having to film myself for Instagram. It's just not what I love doing. And if you're here at the session, I'll bet it's not what you love doing either. And so this session, Instagram for Introverts, really came about because it's my own personal journey of being someone who doesn't like the camera, doesn't thrive on attention, and would prefer to be in the background. And yet I had this business, Westside Nannies, and I felt like I really needed to be present on social media, needed to be current in a way that I really wasn't. And so originally I said to myself, as you probably said to yourself too, and many agencies I've spoken with say, can't I just hire someone to do the things that I hate? I think that's what a lot of us do as business owners. Can't I just hire someone to be in front of the camera, to do that social media stuff, to figure all that out for me? And originally that's what I did. And you can do that well. And I have amazing team members that really showed up and did a fantastic job and still do a fantastic job on social media, doing reels, doing video. But eventually I looked at our social media pages and I really didn't see myself there because I was missing, because I wasn't present, because it was something that was hard for me and it was something that I didn't want to do. But I felt like I was kind of failing my business a little because of my own personal hangups and my own personal fears. And I didn't feel like that was fair to my business. And so sometimes you really just have to put your big girl pants on and face your fears and do the things that are hard for you. And that's what I chose to do. And I said to myself, I have to do this. I have to get in front of the camera. I have to be on video. I have to do reels. I have to be present on my social media accounts. And I did. And the faces of my team are still there, sometimes more than mine, but now I am present too. And so that was the journey that I took from someone who didn't want to be there at all to saying, like, no, you're going to have to be there and you're going to have to figure it out. And so during that process, I took a deep dive into Instagram, what the best practices were, how to do things correctly, how to actually do things that were meaningful to grow your account, to appeal to the right audience. And so if you're here, I hope that you're an introvert too, and can understand some of the feelings that I was having, and that you want to learn more about Instagram and how you can use it to grow your agency and your business. So before we dive right into content, I just wanted to give you an overview of what we're going to talk about. Here's what we're going to go over. We're going to start with the basics. We're going to talk about defining your goals, optimizing your Instagram profile, and really establishing a visual style. We're going to talk about highlight reels. Those are pivotal, and also establishing content pillars. What is a content pillar and why would you need one? Once we cover the basics, we're going to branch out and just talk about building your Instagram strategy, how to create high quality content, how we at Westside Nannies create the content that you see on our Instagram page, how we go about writing captions, leveraging hashtags, geotagging our posts, how do we even decide when to post, and how do we engage with our audience? And then lastly, we're going to talk about introversion and Instagram, because you may not realize it, but introverts have a lot of strengths. We don't get enough credit for all of our strengths because we have a lot of them. So how can you use the strengths that you already have to really help you on Instagram and on video? And how can you fight some of those perfectionist tendencies and have the courage to actually show up on video in this way for your business? So let's dive in. Let's define your goals. What exactly do you want your Instagram strategy to achieve? This was something we thought about a lot because I think that, ideally, I would love to get more clients from Instagram. But in looking at it, we really discovered we can't have this Instagram philosophy that works for everyone. What we came down to deciding on is you really have to choose. Do you want to go after clients using Instagram, or do you want to go after candidates? Because I think that while some agencies may do that well, what I notice is that the content really needs to be geared toward a certain audience. And so in trying to figure out what we needed most and how we wanted to set ourselves up, Westside Nannies decided that we were going to really target candidates through our Instagram page. You may be different and you maybe really want to target clients. And so you really kind of have to choose, what's your Instagram strategy going to be? Do you want it to be to clients? Do you want it to be for families? Do you want to be talking about tips to give families all the ways that they can be successful? Or do you want to target candidates? Or do you want to try to have a blended strategy? I would suggest really picking one and solidifying all of your content just towards that audience. By having clear goals, you set yourself up for success. The next step is to really optimize your profile. This is like a mini advertisement. And so each word here, each character has to be so carefully thought out. You have about 150 characters to really make your bio stand out. I think using hashtags makes it more readable, but instantly, if a viewer comes to your page, they should be able to read your bio and know exactly what you do. So whether you're targeting families, whether you're targeting nannies, what you do and what you sell should be at the forefront here. No one should have a question in their mind what your agency does after reading your bio. Make sure your account is set to a business account. Use a professional profile photo. I always suggest using your logo, and just make sure your description is really clear. I would suggest writing it in a Word document and doing a character count just to make sure you're utilizing almost every single space that you have available, because it's hot property. And then you should always have a clickable link, either to like a link tree, and you can go on Westside Nannies Instagram and look at ours. We have a link tree that you click, and then you can go to our blog, and we can put different links of various things in there that we want to drive candidates to. But you can also just utilize your website and have them click into your website. but this is your hot property and make sure you make great use out of it. Establishing a visual style. So first impressions count so much. And there's a lot of talk on Instagram, and you may have even seen, I think that the curated feeds where everything has to look perfect is a little bit out the door at this point. And so I don't think you should feel like you have to have everything look so cohesive and so perfect. But I do think you should make sure that your feed is visually cohesive and visually appealing. We've done that by really utilizing our brand colors and making sure that we stay within those brand colors as we're posting. And I think what that does is it helps our feed to look cohesive and just pleasing to the eye. When your feed has a similar look and feel, color palette, fonts, and photo style, just be consistent because it does make it look better. And if you look around at different accounts that you really like looking at, look at their feeds and take a hint as far as what they're doing and what is attractive to you about their feed. The highlight reels. These are great because so many times the stories that you post, they disappear after 24 hours. So utilizing the highlights to call attention to what is important to you and what you want candidates or clients to know is really helpful. I think in a couple of weeks, we'll be filming a Q&A series for candidates, and we'll be making a highlight reel out of it. So you can plan content around highlight reels that you want to have. Maybe it's a Q&A for families. Maybe you have a Q&A for nannies. We always post our new jobs on here, client love, press, but utilize those highlight reels because a lot of times when someone first likes your page and becomes a follower, they'll go through and they'll look through some of your highlight reels, and it's helpful if those are informative to them. One note about highlights, make sure they're up to date. If you go and the highlight reels are all like 3 years old, it feels like you're not keeping up to date. So just make sure you do update them and that they visually support your brand. Adding stories to your highlights. I wanted to include this just in case anyone's really on the newer end to Instagram and needs to know actually how to add something to a highlight reel. The nice thing is if you're thinking, oh gosh, I wish I would have done highlight reels, don't worry, you have plenty of time. Instagram saves all your old stories so that at any time you can create a highlight reel. And if you create one, you'll be able to go back and look at all your past stories and add them to a highlight reel. So don't worry if you don't have them now, you can go create your highlight reels and get your old content on there. Content pillars. These are topics that you'll use to anchor your content. And I think these are helpful because you don't want to get to a place where you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to post today? I have no idea. And you're trying to sit and think about what you're going to do. That's not the best use of your time. So if you think of your Instagram as an overarching marketing strategy, you want to have content pillars to anchor your content. So these examples might be useful tips, industry news, quotes, FAQs, client feedback. If you have, 5 to 7 content pillars and you say, I'm always going to post these things, then when you're looking to design your strategy and you're planning out your post for the day, the week, or the month, you say, well, I need a quote from a nanny. I need something about industry news. I need a useful tip. And you can kind of try to create these things that continue to appear on your page, create consistency, and be things that you start to be known for. Well, I know that Westside Nannies always gives great tips. So content pillars really help in creating that content. Creating high quality content. That is so important. It's important to grab your audience's attention right away because you know how fleeting people's attention is these days. And I'm sure you're that way yourself. You're just starting to click so quickly. If it doesn't grab you initially, then good luck getting that person back. They're just on to the next best thing. So you really want to think of things that entertain, educate, and inspire. And personally, what I do, we all kind of cruise on the internet at night before we go to bed. So when I'm looking at Instagram, if there's something that I think is particularly funny, something that I think is done really well, or something interesting, I'll just save it. And then when I am batching content and doing my own filming, I'll go back to those things that really inspired me or that I thought were interesting or informative, and I'll create my own version. It doesn't have to be people from our industry either. You can really get inspiration from anywhere. In fact, realtors have really great Instagrams. If you want to get some content that you could kind of get inspiration from, follow some really great realtors. They have awesome content that you could use the similar ideas and use them for your business. Batching content is something we do, and it will save you so much time. So if you see videos on the Westside Nannies Instagram, probably the entire month of videos was filmed in a couple hours. And I'll tell you how we do that. We get all our ideas, all those saved reels, all the things that we like, the inspiration from other people. And then we decide, I decide how we're going to make them. We'll set up our camera, and it's just our phone. Like, you don't need anything fancy to do this kind of stuff. We'll set up our ring light. That is a piece of equipment I would invest in, as a ring light to make yourself look bright. And then make sure to do this at home, because you want to be by your closet. And that's an important thing. You want to change your outfit every time you do a video, so that it doesn't look as if you film them all on the same day, and it looks like you film them all over time. But you're going to get there, and you're going to take a couple of hours, and I'll usually set aside 2 hours, and I'll just film as many things as I can within that 2 hours. One thing that I also learned over time is, after you film each video, before you change your outfit, take some selfies of yourself with your camera. Use the timer, like a 3-second timer, and just take selfies of yourself. You'll feel absolutely ridiculous, let me tell you, but you can use those for the covers of your reels, and it can make your feed look better if you do that, versus like getting a random clip from your video. And just experiment with different formats, carousels, reels, stories, Instagram lives. I think a really cohesive strategy utilizes every single way of posting that Instagram offers. And they like it if you use all the different options. So let's talk about reels. This is where you can really show off your creativity, and they are so fun. Honestly, once I started filming them, the first couple ones were hard, but then it started to get easier and easier. And that's what I would tell you, is just start. This is going to get easier and easier. It's just practice. It's just doing it. Always try to look on what's trending. If you start to see trending audios, utilize it yourself. Keep in mind that you really need good lighting. That ring light comes in handy. Don't skip on that. And remember what I said about the selfies, optimizing your cover image, and not like a selfie like this. That's not what I'm talking about, but set up your camera, set up the timer, and just take an image of yourself. And if you notice on the image here on the screen, I mean, these are all times when Elena and I on our team have just taken pictures of ourselves, just sitting there and just doing it. It's awkward at first, but again, like all of this, you do get used to it. And then you can use those various looks for the covers and put captions on top of them. So helpful. Carousel posts. What is a carousel post? It's a longer post that is multiple kind of pictures in one. And these are really helpful for educational or insightful content. They get a lot of shares because usually they're more content driven, more educational. And that's one thing that's really important to the Instagram algorithm, is how many people are sharing the content that you produce. So putting and creating carousels and putting them into your feed is really something that I would suggest you do. You want to initially sketch out a storyboard, an idea of how many frames you'll need, and then definitely use Canva to create these. Canva is just so amazing, and there are so many carousel posts that are really already done on there that you can just put your content into. One of the ways Westside Nannies really likes to utilize our content in multiple ways is, for the most part, whenever we have a carousel post, that content is from a blog post on our website. So a content strategy might be write a blog and then you use it as a carousel post. And then you could even create some more posts with different, quotes from that same blog. So you can do the work one time and then use it in different ways. And it all kind of is cohesive and works together. This is an example of one of our carousel posts. We had some blog articles on different childcare philosophies, and we were able to use each blog post and create a carousel post from that blog. So we did one on Waldorf education, we did another on Montessori, and another on Rye. And you're just taking the content that you've already have. Remember, you've already written this blog post, so let's reuse it and really just utilize that content in a different way. Stories. Instagram really wants you to be present in your stories, and it's something where they want you to utilize every tool that they have. And the nice thing about stories is you have so many interactive tools that you can use, like stickers and polls and filters, to really make your content stand out a lot more. So when you are doing stories, remember these things. Use the location tag, mention someone else, ask a question, ask a poll, put on a quiz, use a link. You really want to get your audience involved in your stories because it makes your page more memorable. It makes people engage. And when people are engaging, it means they're being active. And it's also something where Instagram knows, oh, they're doing something interesting. People are engaging. Let's show their content to more people. Pay attention to the captions. When we were creating this, I told one of my team members, I don't want to discourage people. Our captions tend to be really long, but they don't have to be. And so I really want to talk a little bit through what we do, but preface this by saying your captions on your post do not need to be as long as ours are. We have a team member who just loves writing. And so our captions tend to be a little longer because that's her forte. But if writing is not your strong suit, do not feel like they need to be this long. They can literally be an emoji. They can be a sentence. Like, they do not need to be this long at all. But what I would do is pay attention to the captions and start with a hook. Say something interesting. If you are going to make it longer, break it up into a couple shorter paragraphs. Use emojis and finish with a call to action. Tell people what you want them to do with this post. Should they like it? Should they share it if they learn something? Give them something to do. When it does come to captions, the goal is just to engage your current followers so that they'll interact with your content and remain followers over the long term. You'll want to send signals to the algorithm that your content is interesting and relevant to potential new followers through keywords. So be sure that what you do put in your caption actually reflects and mimics what you're talking about in your video. Think of your caption as your SEO opportunity because Instagram can't listen to the videos. So they rely on what you put in the captions. They rely on your hashtags, and they rely on the words that you put over your videos to really give them an idea who they should show your content to. So it is important, but really don't feel like they need to be as long as what we do. Leveraging hashtags. There is so much debate over hashtags. To use them, to not use them, do they work, do they not work? And it's always changing. But I think the way to do it is to expand your reach. The most important thing to remember is that they should be relevant to the content that you're using and relevant to your audience. So you shouldn't like do a nanny video and then do hashtag Justin Bieber because your content has nothing to do with Justin Bieber unless you want him to hire a nanny from you someday. But Instagram is going to see that and they're going to think, oh, they're just trying to use like a really popular big hashtag to get their people to look at their stuff, but it's not relevant. And so they're not going to show it. And you want to use hashtags that your audience is actually already looking for. So check out the competition. Go to our page, look at the hashtags that we're using, go to other agencies that you admire, their social media, and check and see what hashtags they're using. And look at nannies too. Any of the nannies that are in this space as well, what hashtags are they using? And if you find other hashtags that are interesting, utilize the search bar and find even more. So the key here with hashtags is make them highly relevant and use ones that your industry is already using to show up when someone's searching for like agency tips, for example. Make sure they're relevant. Use a mix of small, medium, and large hashtags. And here's a key thing: save your hashtags for future use. Do not recreate the wheel each time. Definitely once you get like a group of hashtags together that you'll use pretty often, save them in your phone notes or on your computer so that you can just quickly grab them whenever you need to. You can change them up here or then, but at least you won't have to start from zero each time. Geotagging your posts. So it's crazy, but location tags get 79% more engagement when you use them. So never, never, never post anything without a geotag. We usually say Los Angeles since that's where we're based. But for example, if you are advertising a job, I would geotag the location of that job if it's not in your local area, so that the people that are nearby are seeing it. So don't forget this one. It's a big deal. Decide on a posting schedule. I think so many people do this the wrong way. They say, I'm going to post every day. And they get so excited after they listen to a presentation like this one, because I'm exciting you, right? But they kind of overcommit and they plan to do way more than is humanly possible. So my advice to you would be to slow it down and pick something that is sustainable. Maybe you just start with posting one thing a week. Maybe it's 2 times a week or every other day. Maybe it's once a day, but whatever it is, make sure that it's achievable and just stick to it. You'll want to have a posting schedule so that you can plan your content in advance, so that you can actually have a plan and not feel like you have to figure this out on a daily basis. Planning is key for Instagram and for content in general. Engage with your audience. Respond to all comments and DMs, every single comment, even if someone that agrees with you, even if they're just giving you an emoji, you should always respond. Respond with an emoji back. The responses don't have to be very long, but you should always respond to every single comment and DM. Like comments from your previous posts, show up on Instagram stories. And an Instagram strategy is engaging with your audience. So it's not just about you posting. You should be engaging with your followers too. So set aside 20 minutes a day to watch your followers' stories, to look at their content, to like their content, to comment on what they're doing, comment on other agencies, offer words of support, comment on influential nannies that are big in the Instagram space, and just be present. Have your company name and your company Instagram be something that people are seeing because you're actually out there in the community, in the social media audience being active. And follow the accounts of the people that are influential in your space, nannies and agencies. All right, here's where we are. I want to talk about introversion and Instagram, because that's why we're all here. We've learned a lot about Instagram now, and now we're going to talk about being an introvert and being on Instagram. You see this picture right here? I didn't want to be doing that, but I did it anyway. And that's something that has been really wonderful for me, just to get through and push myself through. And I know you can do it too. If you're introverted, I guarantee you probably feel hesitant to put yourself out there and create content and to get behind the camera. But remember how I told you introverts have strengths? You have a lot of them, and they can be leveraged to make a huge impact on the social media platform. If you're an introvert, you're probably great at listening. You'll be wonderful listening and getting ideas about content. You'll be great interacting with the community. You're probably thoughtful and detail-oriented. You're going to make sure that your content is relevant. You're going to make sure that every single I is dotted and every single T is crossed. And introverts are often great at writing too. So you may be talented at creating those captions, or you may be really insightful about how to take something that someone else has done and recreate it for your own business in a really interesting way. So you just really can't feel like, as an introvert, you can't do amazing things on social and on video, because I'm here to tell you you can. And if you let yourself try, you'll probably be really good at it. Everyone fights perfectionism, but I feel like it's especially hard on social media, because even I often succumb to paralysis of the analysis. Have you ever heard of that? It's where you want something to be so perfect and you don't feel like it is. And so you just like, don't ever do it. Does anyone else do that? I definitely do. And my perfectionist tendencies can get so bad that they really can hamper and really stop creativity and stop progress. So I'm here to tell you what I tell myself. Just do it. Don't wait until it's perfect. It is so much more important to get more content on Instagram than to have it look perfect, look beautiful, be perfectly written, any of those things. Like, content is there and gone in a day. So it is just so much more important to actually be visible and present with mediocre content than it is to have amazing, perfect, excellent content that you don't post as often. So if that's one thing that you take away from the session and remember, is just do it. Don't make it sure it's perfect, because honestly, it really doesn't need to be. And there's so much of a drive about authenticity, that authenticity is so important. And when things are perfect, a lot of times they don't come off as very authentic. So please just throw the perfectionism out the window, embrace imperfection, practice self-compassion, focus on progress, and perhaps consider finding an accountability partner to help you through with this. Find another introverted agency owner and be like, hey, girl, we have got to show up on our pages. And so we're each going to commit to doing, maybe it's one reel a week, and find that accountability partner. In fact, shameless plug, APNA has amazing mastermind groups, and they're available for any agency to join, whether you're members of APNA or not. And those mastermind groups are full of accountability partners. So join one, and I'm sure in your group, you could find an Instagram video accountability partner in one. So join today. And having courage on camera. I know it's really hard. I think, public speaking and being on camera are pretty much like the worst things people can even think of. I think there was like some study that said, what was it? Like, people hate public speaking just as much as they hate like going to the dentist or something. Or maybe it was like more than death. It was like a really crazy statistic. So you're definitely not the only one. The key is practice. Just make sure you practice. You don't even have to start with filming yourself. You can just practice talking being on camera. The more you practice and the more you do it, the more confident and comfortable you're going to become. Believe me, I am like poster child for this, because I was not good at this in the beginning. And slowly over time, the more and more that I've done it, the more comfortable I'm getting, and it doesn't scare me now. To ace your next video shoot, prepare in advance. Maybe think about the outfits you want to wear. You'll be looking and saving those things that are going to give you inspiration. Start small. Just one thing. Maybe you just film one thing for the first time. That's what I did. These 2-hour sessions of batching content, that didn't come for a while. So don't put pressure on yourself. Just start small. Start with one thing, and then you can branch out from there. Focus on the message. Focus on what you're saying. That's so important. Focus on the message, not the medium. You have something important to say. You have something valuable and meaningful to clients or candidates, whoever you've chosen to direct this message to. So really just focus on what you're saying. Focus on how you're helping people, because you really are, not the fact that you're on video. Focus on what you're doing to help. And find a supportive community. I think that is so important. Come to APNA. We can all talk about this together. Come talk to me when you see me at a conference. I'm always happy to talk about this and give you some words of encouragement. So, are you ready? I feel like after this presentation, you're ready to go and film something. Remember, you don't have to be afraid. You have meaningful, important things to say. You are smart. You are capable. Say your affirmations with me. You can do it. And you just have to go out of your comfort zone, and you can push yourself, and you can do this. I know you can. And I'm excited to see so much more agency content pumping up on Instagram. Introverts unite. Let's be strong here. I know you can do it. And honestly, I'll be your biggest cheerleader. I can't wait to see you soon for the live Q&A. Bring all your questions. I'm so excited to answer them.
That was such an amazing session.
Oh, thanks, Erica. It was so fun.
We have so many questions, so we're going to hop right into them.
Good.
So the first is, what suggestions do you have for someone who feels overwhelmed by the amount of energy needed to have an active Instagram presence?
Well, I would say you don't have to have energy all the time.
That part.
Just for like, the couple minutes that you're filming. So I think, but I think the key thing is we all make it so much bigger in our heads. Even me, even still, like I am avoidance to the max and I will put it off and procrastinate. But you just got to pick a time and you've got to do it, and you can have your downtime. Like as introverts, we need to have our downtime to be able to go like recharge. So you got to turn up that energy, because no one wants a video without energy. So just turn it up, the 10 or 20 minutes that you're doing it. And then you can go like read or do something to recharge your batteries.
I love it. Brianna is asking, how do you track your return on social media investments? So how do you know if it's worth it?
Well, we can't track it perfectly. It's not like a Google ad where you have like an analytics platform, but we do see our views and we see the shares. And I think the way we really track it is we hear about nannies talking. When nannies interview with us, we ask them how they heard about us, what they've heard about us. And a lot of them will talk about that they went on our Instagram, and either they may have found us that way, or even if they didn't, I think it solidified the feeling that they had about the agency. I think press helps with that. I think being, active on all the various platforms helps with that. You just want to be present where they're looking. So if someone checks out your website first, then they may check out Yelp, or they may check out reviews, and then they'll look on your Instagram. If it all kind of has a cohesive picture, it's current, it's active, it just really helps to solidify the way a candidate feels and clients feel too.
Yeah.
And we do get clients from Instagram sometimes, even though we're more focused on candidates. So it's really just hearing about what candidates are telling us.
That's some great insight. Erin is asking, what are your recommendations for someone who is so sensitive to the negative energies being emitted by social media?
Oh man, that was like a whole session in of itself. I mean, the trolls are real, right? And we get them sometimes. And sometimes I just press delete, because I'm over it. Like, I mean, it's your page, and like, you don't need to hear negative content if you don't want to. So you can just delete it if you get something like that. And we've done that on Facebook too. We like even had to post some like rules of our page, because we had to have some parameters around what we were going to keep and what we were going to choose not to keep. But we also will just respond to the comments in really witty ways. And we do try to leave up as many as we can. But if someone's really inflammatory or saying something incredibly rude that's offensive.
Erin is asking, what are your thoughts on having someone just manage Instagram, but you would like to give them more directions and have them dig deeper into the topics?
I think it's hard sometimes, and unless you have someone that's worked with your agency for a really long time, I don't know. It's probably possible. Maybe people do it. I just have felt like, even when you're hiring someone to write blogs or come up with ideas, it's hard to have someone else come up with the ideas that are so unique to your business. It's like they kind of get it, but they don't totally. And so everything seems more just like very surface level.
Yeah.
Maybe if you really dug in and gave them all the concepts and ideas, it's possible. But I think that's what this whole presentation was about, right? Maybe just try doing it. And you don't have to do all of it, but maybe try some of it. And I mean, so I think maybe it's possible, but I probably would just do it yourself.
Is there anything that you did to get comfortable being behind the camera or being in front of the camera?
Just like doing it, continuing to do it more often, practicing. I'm still not like, oh yeah, let's film reels. Like I don't think it will ever be that really. But I'm just more comfortable doing it, and you just have to keep going. I don't know that unless you just love being on camera, I don't know that you'll have some metamorphosis of like wanting to be an actor at some point if you don't like it already, but you do just get more used to anything.
Yeah,
It's not like cognitive therapy, like
yes,
you
that
just have
part.
to keep doing the things that make you uncomfortable and you eventually desensitize yourself to it. Same.
Wonderful. Jessica says, how do you make sure that your content casts a wide net for a diverse audience without making it so general that it doesn't attract your target audience?
We have chosen not to be super general because I think sometimes your content can be more on point when you're really talking to a very specific audience. So we've actually purposely narrowed our audience to have our Instagram focus on talking to candidates specifically. But I think that families, even clients, if they're looking at our page, they're looking at the advice we're giving candidates. And my hope would be that they can look at it too and say, wow, like that's really good advice this agency is giving. Stick to your NDAs, how to do well in interviews, not to post things on social media you don't want the world seeing. Like we are giving tips to candidates that I would be proud to have any of our clients see. So I think it can kind of do that back and forth. Like if you're focusing on clients and you're telling them, it's important to pay legally, it's important to guarantee hours and so forth. If you're a nanny that's looking at that, even if it's client focused, you're seeing the advice that they're giving and it's solidifying the agency in your opinion. So I think it can kind of work towards both transientally.
Great. Do you suggest recording reels separately from TikTok content rather than sharing directly from TikTok to Instagram?
Yes, because each platform likes you to use their platform. So they actually won't show your videos as much if you're just cross-posting videos. Like if the worst thing is if you have like the TikTok logo on your Instagram videos, they don't love that because they know it's just repurposed content and they want you to be creating original content for their platform. So if you're going to be posting it on both, I might just film the video separately and then post it on each one. I think you'll get better results. I haven't done TikTok yet. Maybe that'll be our next dive.
I'm here for it.
I like TikTok as a viewer. I love it.
Yeah,
So
same. Leanna asked, how far in advance do you plan your reels? We have found that we have to jump on the trending sounds pretty quickly, and what's trending is always changing.
it's true. It's true. If there's a huge trend, we'll jump in and film something in the moment. And maybe that will be like more like a one-off, but in general, we can't be doing it every single day. So we're batching and creating content like once a month. And so we have like a 30-day timeline and we may miss some trends on that. But I think having the flexibility of like planning out your content in general, but then being able to jump in and do like a quick video if you want to take advantage of like a trend or something that's going on right now, being able to jump in and do that and just insert it into the overarching strategy. That's what we do, but we don't take advantage of all of them for sure.
When our last question, it's similar to the previous one, but did you see an increase in business once you began posting regularly, and what is regular to you?
I don't know that it was such a huge increase in business, to be honest with you, but I will say that we have a steady influx of candidates and that's our target. And that we continue to have a steady influx of candidates, whereas other agencies have reported they're more dry. The thing is, I don't know if that's because of Instagram, but I think it helps. I think it helps because our candidates are on Instagram and they're looking around and they're listening to this content and they're looking for agencies. And it is something that a lot of them mention when they interview with us. So I know that it makes a difference. I don't know how much of a difference, but I know it's been positive.
Wonderful. Well, we really appreciate your time today. All the content. I mean, you jammed it in there, girl. You gave us all.
Tried paying for the buck, right?
Right, all of it. Listen, everyone, we hope that you found this to be as insightful as I did, and that you leave the session encouraged to get in front of a camera and do your best shot today or this week. Again, this is time for our break. We encourage you to go over to the app and to engage with others and network in our community online. And we will be back here for our next session at 1 p.m. with Sue Downing. Hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.